So recording in progress. So I would like to make this casual and conversational, but I will start off with just giving a broad overview of highlights of various projects in each of our different fields. But I'd like to begin actually by saying a few words about myself because I've never met any of you on this call so far, with the exception of Tova. So my name is Sharon Stern. It's an Israeli name. I was born to two Israeli parents out west, but not Victoria West, south of you in California. I'm American, as I always ask. Please forgive me. And I have had the pleasure of working for and working with CHW for the past 2 years. I live in Israel for 17 years now. I had made Aliyah when I was living in Washington, D.C., and felt that the work I was doing in and around foreign policy as it relates to Israel wasn't enough. So I've been in this country now for close to 2 decades. I love Israel. It's complicated, as many of you may know. And like I said, I've had really a wonderful time working for CHW for 2 years now. Prior to that, a majority of my years here in Israel was working in the nonprofit industry in Israel. So I'm quite familiar with the lay of the land. That being said, let's transition over to CHW and its role here in Israel. As you know, I'm the Israel director, which means I represent what you ladies are supporting, which organizations, which projects, ensuring that they are carried out, overseeing changes that oftentimes need to be made, scoping out new projects that might be the most effective way for us to reach our goals. So what is our goal? As you know, CHW has and continues to this day to work to advance healthcare, education, and social services. And in each of those, what we like to call buckets, we have a good handful of partners and projects. So I'm just going to give a very brief overview and dive into an example of one from each of those buckets to talk about how CHW support is actually having an impact on the ground in Israel. Sometimes it's difficult to get a true sense from, let's say, reading a newsletter or an article in Aura. And so I'm hoping that maybe if we have a conversation, you'll have a better or deeper sense for how CHW is really having an impact on the ground. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say a few words about the fact that for the past 21 months, Israel has been in its most difficult war, and it continues to be, as we yet again lost a number of 3 soldiers just 2 days ago in Gaza, and the fighting continues. So I need to put everything I say into context. And the context is that Israel has lost just shy of 2,000 civilians and soldiers. 1,948 people have been killed since October 7th. And relative to the overall population, that is massive. And as you know, everybody here knows everyone, or they know of someone who knows of someone. Of that number, 896 of them are IDF, or we shall say military or security personnel. And that's not counting the close to 30,000 people that have been injured. That plays an important role in where CHW is working these days in healthcare, and I'll touch upon that shortly. We're not whole yet here in Israel. As you know, we have 50 hostages that are still in Israel, still in Gaza, excuse me. And as an Israeli and as a Jew and just as a human being, it's like you really aren't whole until you feel like everyone has been returned. They shouldn't have been taken to begin with, and they shouldn't be there this long. But that's something that's none of us in Israel feel like this can come to a close until they're home. That does not account for close to 200,000 Israelis that are still displaced from the north, from the south, and most recently, during the 12-day Iranian missile attack, you have many Israelis from just the central towns of Israel who cannot return to their homes. There are approximately 300,000 reservists still serving. That has its impact on many families. It has its impact on the economy. It has its impact on the men and women themselves that are serving. And then you have the physical damage. There were more than 38,000 rockets and missiles and UAVs that had been fired into Israel in the last 21 months. And those that did hit caused great damage. I don't know what the media coverage is like out in Victoria, but I would assume that maybe you're not receiving all the pictures of the missile attacks from this 12-day barrage with Iran. I can tell you, having driven through Ramat Gan, that it's not just the building that it hit. It affected the entire block because it's so the explosives were so intense and massive that the damage was felt for a block around, meaning other buildings are, in some cases, no longer livable. All of this is transpiring as I said, CHW is looking to advance healthcare, education, and social services. So healthcare. From its inception, CHW has always supported Hadassah Hospital. I'm sure that from all of the communication materials that's been sent to you in its various forms, you're very familiar that the large hydrotherapy pool. So Hadassah Hospital started its endeavor to establish a state-of-the-art comprehensive rehabilitation facility even before the war started. It was lacking then, and it's even more dire now. The process was sped up with the help of the Israeli government since October 7th, and there are now just 5 floors that are remaining to be completed in terms of construction. One of the first areas that was completed, and this is where CHW had a major role, is in the hydrotherapy unit, where there are 2 pools, a small one and a large one, and both are now being fully utilized. The large hydrotherapy pool was completed with CHW's funding. There are 150 patients each day. Many, I won't say all, but many of the patients undergoing physical rehabilitation are utilizing the hydrotherapy pool because of the benefits of that form of therapy. And now, as you may have seen, we're rolling out and working on mental health because the statistics are abhorrent. The Forum for Public Psychology, they forecast that 3 million people will need mental health treatment since October 7th today. I can tell you, as someone who was relatively protected in the various over the past almost 2 years, I will admit to you that I think I need to go and talk to someone, but it just never seems to be the right time. And there are people that are it's more urgent for them. And there's lots of excuses, but there are people who cannot function. Their lives come to a halt. And in that case, that's where CHW is applying its efforts because it is affecting the entire society. So Hadassah Hospital, we are supporting their psychological rehabilitation unit, meaning completing the construction of it. It will include 10 psychologists' offices, 12 social worker offices, 2 family rooms, 1 therapeutic healing garden, and what they call a cognitive treatment room or a brain gym, which is basically a room where it's set up with high-end computers that are able to engage the patients per their specific state, whatever it is that they need, with various what we call, it looks like video games to the common person, but they're not. They're cognitive targeting exercises to help the patient move forward in their treatment. What I wanted to focus on is actually Shamir Medical Center, because I find that the treatment that they're offering is truly one of a kind. So at Shamir Medical Center, they have the largest hyperbaric oxygen chambers in the world. They have 8 oxygen chambers. They have been using these hyperbaric oxygen chambers to treat many illnesses. It can be skin diseases, it can be healing from a surgery, but what they developed a number of years ago was the ability to apply this therapy to PTSD patients. They started and were able to demonstrate its effects, but they started working with the Ministry of Defense, who would provide veterans who were suffering from PTSD. And just in July of last year, so exactly 1 year ago, they published in the most high-end medical journals the findings of their studies, which demonstrated that PTSD is a physiological injury. And through this therapy, they can actually track and demonstrate that the oxygen therapy heals the physiological damage that they found in the brains alongside tailored psychological treatment. And it's been amazing. Since October 7th, the Shamir Medical Center has expanded this treatment specifically to the survivors of the Nova Music Festival, of the kibbutzim and the communities around the Gaza Strip, and to soldiers fighting in Gaza. And this is where I think CHW plays a key role. We are the 3rd largest supporter of their initiative to treat 1,000 civilians. Not talking about soldiers, 1,000 civilians, innocent people whose lives came to a halt. They've doubled their capacity from 200 patients a day to 400 patients a day, and they're not stopping. Their next endeavor is to treat children of the Gaza envelope, what we call the communities surrounding the Gaza Strip. This has been, when I say it's groundbreaking, I'm not being superfluous. The U.S. Veteran Affairs has been working together with the Professor Shaya Frati and Dr. Karen Duanis-Barak. These are the two, one that heads the Segal Center for Hyperbaric Oxygen Treatment, and Dr. Karen Duanis-Barak is the one that developed the PTSD, applying it to PTSD patients. And the two of them are working hand in hand with the US government to ensure that this is offered to, not to ensure, to help them offer it to the many veterans of the United States who have been suffering for years from PTSD. So this is, I think, a wonderful example of where CHW is enabling the most necessary treatment in healthcare. It's being applied, this kind of treatment is being applied and has its effects worldwide. And I will say more than that. The Shamir Medical Center is working with the Ministry of Health to ensure that this is adopted by the government of Israel, that PTSD by civilians or by soldiers should be covered by the government, and they are in the process of advancing that. This, in my opinion, is where philanthropy has the greatest impact. It's filling in where there is a need and where it should be implemented into the system, then that's what will be happening in this case. And I think that that's a beautiful example. Okay, I'll quickly go on because I want to leave time for questions. So if we go past healthcare and we look at education, CHW has been working to advance education in various institutions in Israel. You're familiar with the Hadassah Academic College, which recently changed its name to Jerusalem Multidisciplinary Center, where we helped start the Blender, which was the innovation center. We have, of course, the Neri Bloomfield School of Design, which was recently merged with the University of Haifa. Many of you probably are familiar with Neri Bloomfield or have heard about her, but this was one institute that from the moment that CHW came on board to support it, it's never turned its back. And to this day, we support students with scholarships there. But I actually want to focus on one of the smaller schools in our education bucket, which is the Netanya Technological High School, also named after CHW. What I like about what we're doing here is Netanya Technological High School has just over 100 students. These are high schoolers. These are children, youth, that were delinquent. They dropped out of the general education system. After trying here and there, the municipality basically gives up. And if there wasn't a place for them, they would fall into crime, into drugs, nothing good. And here, this school knows that it has CHW's support. It's not a lot in terms of the amount of funding, but it's a lot in terms of these students. These are students who, having met some of them, I don't know if I was in their shoes, if I would have the energy to muster it up and get up every morning and want to go to school. They have backgrounds, their homes oftentimes have abuse, whether it's physical abuse or there is substance abuse or just impoverished. I can tell you from speaking to some that one of the factors that draws them in is just that they know they have a hot meal for lunch. But then they find a warm, supportive, and loving environment, which is not something they know. And they find people, from the principal all the way down to the janitor, that encourage them and believe in them. And I'm really proud, having gone to the graduation this past June. I was really proud to see these students who not only are graduating high school, they've completed their matriculation exams. I don't know how to convey it because it's a given. It was a given to me when I was in high school. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go on to university. But that's not the case for these students. And I met some of the graduates from previous years who came to the graduation ceremony in June. And they have gone on to serve in the Army. They've gone on, in some cases, one particular graduate, he went on, he studied in the culinary track, and he's gone on and is working now in a restaurant alongside the head chef. It sounds mundane, but it's not. We believed in them when no one else was there. That's what makes CHW unique. When we want to have an impact, it's not all the time about the amount of money, but it's about seeing those that otherwise are invisible, that nobody else sees. That was an example of one of our projects in education. And then I'm going to jump to social services, and I'm going to divide it into two and tell you about two different projects that I personally chose. So as you know, we're a women's organization. We want to advance women. We know that wherever women are, good things happen. And where we have the greatest impact is on those women, again, that aren't always visible, aren't always seen. And without us, I don't know where they will be. So we have, for a number of years now, been supporting WIZO's safety net. I will talk about that shortly. As you know, 3 years ago, we brought on the Michal Selam Forum, which has done incredible work in the realm of intimate partner violence. They have now 630 women in their protective programs. That's close to, with the women and the children, they have close to 2,400 children under these 630 women that are now protected, that left abusive relationships, and thanks to Michal Selam Forum, are safe and beginning to live their lives. Last year, we brought on Her Academy, which is an organization that works with women and girls who have come out of prostitution and out of sex trafficking. It's not a pretty subject. Not many people want to talk about it. And what this organization has done successfully for over 10 years now is bring them into an education, it's an educational, vocational training school where they provide them with the skills, the education, the tools, the knowledge, the confidence to pursue a professional career and to develop an economic independence, to have a life outside of prostitution. So I'm going to start with, this is in the realm of advancing women, and then afterwards I'll talk about youth at risk. But what I wanted to focus on is actually WIZO safety net. WIZO, our good old-fashioned partner, they started this program in 2017. And the idea behind safety net is that without economic independence, 40% of women who have left a violent partner or violent relationship will return to another violent relationship in the future. And that's exactly what they've done. What they do is they take women who have left shelters, women that have been forced to finally leave violent relationships and have found themselves in WIZO shelters, them and their children, and it provides a long-term support system. There are 11 communities throughout Israel. Each of these communities are now a new home for these women. Many women leave their original communities, whether, let's say, they came from Ramleh, they don't stay in Ramleh. They leave the city to get away from their former partner, and they have to start over anew. Many of these women don't have advanced degrees or a career that's well-paying, that's actually goes hand in hand with the violent relationship, is being oppressed financially as well. And what this program is able to do is create a network of women and of children with WIZO volunteers and with WIZO trained professionals. And once a week, every Sunday, 5 p.m., these women get together at their WIZO center. The children have programming for them, while the women have one another. But more than that, they have career counseling, they have training, they have legal advice, they have everything they need, not just on Sunday, at any hour on any day available to them to help them get on their own 2 feet. And it's been successful. There's less than 10% of the women in this program that have returned to a violent relationship. And what I wanted to talk about is actually specifically over the last 21 months, because as I said, this is a difficult time. I felt like I was somewhat protected, but for these women and children, many of them live in the areas that were bombed. Many of them, if not all of them, don't have a shelter in their home, or if they do, it will be in their building. So at 3 a.m, they have to run downstairs with 1, 2, or 3 children every time there's a siren. Again, they're not financially stable. They've already had the trauma of coming out of an abusive relationship. And what WIZO did was a survey. It was just conducted at the end of June. And I'm going to share with you briefly some of the results so you can understand what their findings reveal. In terms of safety, 35% of the participants of Safety Net live without a secure space or a reinforced room, and the children experience acute fear and sleep disruption. Livelihood, 70% of women surveyed are unemployed. Now, I want to make a note about this. Employment in Israel has, it's been shaky over the last 2 years because of on and off work. And again, the first to be laid off or not to be asked to come back are women that aren't in a permanent role and not a, what's the word? Indispensable role. And a lot of these women have found themselves losing their jobs, which is a huge stress on them. 13% of them have frozen bank accounts and risk eviction. Food insecurity. 82% of the families require food assistance. These are just in the safety net. There are 180 women in the safety net communities throughout Israel. Not that doesn't account for their close to 400 children. Digital access. 70% of them lack computers needed for their children during remote learning, which was something that was necessary throughout these last 21 months. 21 months, it's almost 2 years. Support. 70% of them have no family support at all outside of safety net. So I'll tell you a quick story about that, and then I'll maybe come to a close so I don't take up too much more of our time. I visited the Hadera safety net, and I sat in on one of their, they have a mentoring program where they bring in mentors that volunteer consecutively. They can't just pop in and pop out. They're part of the program. And the mentors come and they sit one-on-one and sometimes in groups, and they help these women in specific fields or in general skills needed in the business world. And afterwards, I was able to speak with some of the participants. And one of the women there, beautiful, beautiful woman, she spoke up and she shared that she's been in the program for 2 years now. And for the first year, she didn't speak. And she didn't speak because every time she spoke in her home, she's a mother of four. She was married to her ex-husband for 20 some years. She just learned that every time she opened her mouth, she would get beaten. And so she simply stopped speaking. Her four children, her eldest has tried to take his life. At the time when I spoke with her, she said twice. And so she constantly has to monitor him. One of her younger children at the age of 13 was still wetting his bed, and has a lot of anger issues towards her, apparently, for staying with his father. She had worked as a kindergarten assistant, which does not pay a lot. And it was becoming very difficult for her to keep her eldest son safe and not miss work. And she was in the safety net program for a year before she began speaking, before she felt that these people know what she went through and that it's okay. And it was only about 8 months later that the mentor shared it was the first time I had seen her smile. She's now working consistently, and her two middle children had served in the army when I'd met with her. And no, her life is not all roses, but she has a direction. She knows where she's going. So these programs, they affect real people. They affect them deeply. And I think that this is one example. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to share before we open it up. Oh, of course, I wanted to talk to you about our work with youth at risk. So you're familiar with Nahalal Youth Village, and you're familiar with Hadassim Youth Village, and they do amazing work. But I actually wanted to speak about Hagal Shali, which is an organization that was established 12 years ago. It started off similarly to what I shared with you about Netanya Technological High School. It started off working with the delinquent kids that had fallen off the radar. And it worked with the welfare services, and it brought together, at the very beginning, just small groups of 10, 12 teenagers using surfing as its form of therapy. It was a form, and still to this day, is a 4.5-month program. They meet once a week. They're not easy. It's not easy for these kids, and the surfing isn't easy. And I can tell you because I went to an event last night and I got on a board, and I did not, I did not want to continue. It's hard. It's hard. It sounds, oh, surfing sounds easy and fun. No, no, no. The waves were rough, kept coming at you. You're carrying a clunky big board. It keeps knocking you over. You don't want to be in there. Just get me out of there. And I was surrounded by children from the kibbutzim from Gaza. I'll jump ahead and tell you about that. Hagal Shali for 12 years has been working with youth at risk. They have 16,000 graduates today in 11 centers throughout Israel. But on October 8th, not even a week after October 7th, October 8th, they sent vans and they started picking up the youth from the places where families were relocated. For example, Shvaim. Gash Shvaim is just north of Tel Aviv. They came there. They brought these kids with them after they had gotten acquainted with them, and they started taking them for surf therapy. And to this day, 7,500 survivors, trauma survivors, have gone through surf therapy. And last night I was at the Ashkelon Center, which had opened just 8.5 months ago. And it has had 1,000 participants to date. And they had put together an event commemorated to the participants. Many of them are young, but not all of them. There were fathers, there were, I didn't see any mothers except for me trying to get in the water. But what it is it's a proven method using surf therapy and sea-based activities together with a muscle structure intervention. It's something to do with the use of the muscles and triggering. And this 4.5-month program has been extremely effective in helping children who have seen indescribable sights, who have lost family members, who have family members that are still held hostage, or had family members who came back from being held hostage, alive or not alive. And it was beautiful to see all of these communities, many of them were from near Oz last night, together, and they felt at home and they felt secure and they see hope and they realize that life will go on. So in addition to working with youth at risk, CHW came on board last year and we supported one trauma group. That's a group of 15 participants. And we will continue to support this because it's effective. And when I look at the value add of CHW, it's targeting activities that have great impact. And it's the impact is that those, I feel, that sometimes are overlooked. So I'd like to actually stop now and thank each of you for being part of CHW, for supporting these types of projects. It's beyond worthwhile, and it's not a given. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I would like to welcome Jenny Silver from Victoria. She will share a few words about Victoria Center because they are the ones who are hosting this meeting and this was their idea. So welcome, Janice. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Well,
Hi.
on behalf of the almost 200 members of CHW in Victoria, thank you, Sharon, for sharing all this. This is certainly eye-opening, and I think it was certainly a good use of time. Thank you. We appreciate all that you do, and we continue to do programs and try to raise money to help you.
Yes, and we are starting now the SOS campaign. I would like to share a short video, less than 1 minute, to show what this campaign is about. So let me see if I can share sound. One moment. Can you all see the video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was Michal Sela. In 2019, I was murdered by the man who was my husband, the killer, Eliran Malul. And today, after I lost my life, I call on you. Listen to my voice. If you are in a relationship or were in a relationship and he is jealous and obsessive towards you, if you are afraid of his reaction to parting from you, share with a close person and a domestic violence expert who will help you separate safely and return to your light. Listen to your gut feeling. Do it today. Listen to my voice. Listen to your voice.
Yes, thank you, Michal Sela Forum. As Sharon said, it's one of the most amazing organizations. It's one of my favorites. They have the trained dogs that stay with the family all the time. So it's very interesting. We talk about these projects all the time, and also you can find more information on our website. So we are now open for questions for Sharon. Does anyone have a question? Hi, Toby.
Hi. It's not really a question, although Sharon, it was great to
Oh,
meet you,
yeah.
although be it by computer. I just wanted to let some of the people on the call know because they are from Victoria. I'm the local president here in the Vancouver area. And in August, we are doing a walk for SOS. And one of the people that'll be
good.
speaking knew Michal Sela. In fact, he moved here. He married a Vancouver girl, but they're making Aliyah back to Israel 3 days after they speak on Sunday, August 17th. So if anyone from Victoria wants to come across and hear more, it's really fun. It's a very easy walk. We even provide food because God forbid we should have a Jewish event without food. But you're more than welcome. And it is really neat hearing. I echo Amanda's comments about Michal Sela. When I became president, I did the tour to Israel year before October 7th, had the pleasure of meeting her sister, Lily Ben-Ami, and it's really quite incredible what they do. And prior to the war, their goal was to share it around the world. Now with the war, I'm not sure how much Lily gets out, but it is really amazing the technology they come up with. So, and thank
Still
you, Sharon.
planning, though
Didn't
it
get
was
to
a
meet
bit
you for all you
derailed.
do.
Toby, I've heard so much about you, and I think we had some email exchange. So it's nice to
Yes.
e-meet you.
Yes, nice to see
And you're
you.
right. The one of the aims of the Michal Sela Forum is to transport their programs, whether adapted or not, to other countries, because IPV, intimate partner violence, is not unique to Israel. It's all over the world, and it was a bit derailed, but I'm sure they'll get right back up on there. Claudia Goldman, I'm so happy to see you.
Nice to see you too. And I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious about the surfing program,
Yeah.
how the kids get to it, like how they're referred, because
Yeah.
I have 3 grandchildren in Israel, and definitely they are, even though they have not been, I mean, they have a safe room and they um, don't, well, we did have a family member, but he's made it back from Gaza. But I'm curious to know, like, what level of trauma is required to get into this program, and for the average kids who just got woken up constantly night after night after night, and all the sirens and all the pounding and all the banging, which is still going on, they can still really hear it in Beit Shemesh.
I heard it last night. I
Yeah,
was in Ashkelon, and you hear
definitely hear it there.
the booms of the IDF tanks, right?
Yeah,
It's startling, right?
yeah,
And I'm not a kid.
right. So
So,
I'm just wondering how kids get into it, how they're
right.
referred, what
So,
the hopes are for how big can this go, that sort of thing. More detail, please.
okay. So, I will step back and tell you that 3 years before October 7th, Hagal Shali started working with the Ministry of Defense and started working with veterans that suffered from PTSD. So they already had, and this was accompanied with research. And so it was already a proven way of addressing PTSD. It's different than what I was talking about hyperbaric oxygen treatment because there's complex PTSD. And I'm not going to get into all of that. But what I will say about Hagal Shali is they are extremely well organized. They have relationships within all of the major municipalities and regional councils, with the Ministry of Welfare, the Ministry of Defense, and they didn't wait. They didn't have the funding when they first went out. They literally drove. Yaron, the CEO, he said, "I'll figure it out later. Right now, we need to get these kids out of there." So how does it work today? What they did is they started working, like I said, specifically with the communities surrounding the Gaza Strip. That doesn't mean that other people and youth weren't affected, but that was their first aim. They are now, and this was announced last night at the event, they are now fundraising and intend to open another center in Zikim. Zikim was a beach, the very south, not far from the Gaza Strip, that was attacked on October 7th. And as you see, if they're able to provide 1,000 participants with treatment within 8.5 months of one center, you can imagine that their capacity is growing. They're also able to address, there's a very, you know this probably, Claudia, there's a huge waiting time for mental health treatment in Israel today. As a direct result, although it wasn't that much better before October 7th, but as a direct result of the number of people that need assistance. And Hagal Shali has been able to shorten that wait. So whereas they've been an average of 5 month waiting, they've been able to bring within 30 days a lot of these youth. So when it comes to, let's say, your family members, what they want to do is expand it to not just the youth from the surrounding Gaza communities, but they want to expand it to everyone. What that will mean in reality, I'll have to ask Yaron and get back to you. But I know that they're cognizant of it and they're trying to address it. The issue of capacity it is an issue in Israel, but I see how quickly they work. And so they're working a lot faster than, let's just say, the Ministry of Health would be able to do it. I don't have a concrete answer for you, but I can definitely find out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think water is incredibly effective as a way of dealing with trauma, because my daughter's managed to get her sons into just swimming lessons with somebody who is a trauma expert. And this is just a teeny little bit of what the need is in Israel. It is just beyond how all these people from 0 to 104 need something to deal with the never-ending trauma. So it's a very wonderful program, and I'm really excited to hear how it's progressing. So thank you.
Incredible. It's incredible. And I was humbled yesterday. I expected it to be easier. It's really tough for these kids, and this is what they were told in their sessions, is that if they can get over that wave, they can get over anything in life. I couldn't get over that wave, but those kids were getting up on the board. It's a big achievement for them.
Sharon and
By the
Claudia,
way, if Victoria ever wants, I hear that you have a good surfing point in Victoria. I forgot the name of the beach, but if you ever want me to bring Hagal Shali there.
I think that's in Tofino.
Toby, you have a question? Do you have a question?
I just wanted to let everyone know some really good news. Speaking about this, which should make Sharon very happy, is Camp Atikva, which receives funds from our JOLT program. They are putting together a newsletter, I think it is, that is going out to their campers with a link to CHW to donate to this program.
Oh, wow.
I believe their campers are also writing letters or doing something specific for it. So we're definitely getting the word out and trying to relate it. Camp Billowim Israel now goes there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Billowim Israel is actually happening this year, but they did go
It's
there
not.
last year to check out a project.
They were.
So it is, yeah,
Toby,
so
I'm
it's
so glad
definitely
you
getting out
said
there.
that. I'm so glad you said that. CHW brought Camp Biluim last year, you're right, to Hagal Shali. 70 awesome kids. You guys are doing something right there in Canada. Great 16, 17-year-olds. And they all were exposed to what Hagal Shali is doing, and they had to get up on the board themselves. And it was a great experience. But yes, it was canceled this year because of the situation.
Yes. So we're introducing it again to the campers just so they know it's there, just to make that hit home a bit more. So, Janice, I think the place in Victoria she's talking is probably Ucluelet or Tofino. Is that where the big waves are that Sharon needs to go to?
Tofino.
Yeah.
Which is about
Never
4
been,
hours
but it's
away.
supposed to be very beautiful.
I haven't been either.
Hi, Tova, do you want to say a few words? Tova is our national president for CHW, and she's going to Israel.
I'm going to Israel. Thank you, and thank you, Sharon. And it's always a pleasure to hang out with Sharon in Israel. I hope you'll do that with us. I just want to say that I'm always proud of the work that we do. Always. And I've been with the organization over 30 years. But now more than ever, Sharon has brought programs to us that are just incredible. We have developed our relationships with our project partners in ways that, you can't imagine that the work that we're doing brings the impact that it does. And Sharon highlighted that for us today. And there are more projects and more things to see and more things to learn. But I think, Sharon, you certainly gave us the best overview of what it is. And I want to thank you for that. And I can't wait to come out west in September. And I hope I'll be able to meet some of you. You're all about 2 inches high. So I'm sure you have arms and legs, but I won't know until I get there. So I can't wait to meet you all in September. But thank you. And thanks, Sharon.
And
Thank you.
Tova is talking about Rolene Marks, who is a accredited journalist, the WIZO spokesperson, and deep true Zionist who is coming out to your neck of the woods on a speaking tour. I highly recommend you join the event because she's exceptional. And I will also put in a plug now. I think the best way for anyone to understand deeply and truly, Claudia, you can speak to this too, what CHW is doing is to come to Israel if you can. And Tova is heading up a trip in November. I think that it's halfway there in terms of registration. If anyone here or anyone you know wants to understand truly and deeply what you are supporting, come. This is the time to come to Israel. It means so much. And it will mean equally as much to the Israelis on this side as it will to you, seeing what it is that CHW has and continues to support.
Yes, I have only one question, not a question for everybody. Can we take a collective picture? Like if you feel comfortable turning on your camera, if not, that's okay. And if you can give a smile.
Smile.
Like 3, 2, 1. No. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
So I
And
can
I should also say, if anyone here ever has any questions, feel free. Amanda, Malkadina, anyone can, my information is even on our website. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. This was
Yeah.
fabulous.
I'm
Thank you.
glad.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you for taking your day off to talk to us. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Anytime. Thank you. I should be
Thank you,
thanking.
everyone, for coming.
תודה.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Till next time.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sharon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye for now.